So the main reason for me was I believe in something called perennial learning. So you keep continuously learning, and I think when you prepare for the RSE, you are exposed to so many regulatory concepts, right? So that was the main reason for me to take the RSEs, to get familiarized with the overall regulatory landscape, which is covered in the exam. And more importantly, the exam is, it's an experience-based exam, so you have to use your critical thinking and reasoning to answer questions, right? So you kind of develop that thought process as well. So those were the main reasons for me to take the exam. It's just from a ongoing learning basis, just preparing for the exam. It's such a steep learning curve, but once you're through the prep, you come out as a much more well-educated regulatory professional. So that was my reason. So I knew a few people who had the certification, and then I was aware of the RAPS website soon after I started working in the industry. So through a few sources, I was familiar, and I always had that goal to take the RSE and pass it. So I used a few resources. So mainly the FDA website has a lot of guidances, and the website has regulations which list all the fundamentals you should know. Then when you talk about the European landscape, notified bodies have a lot of white papers. Since MDR was an ever-evolving regulation in terms of the knowledge about the regulation, notified bodies came out with a lot of white papers to discuss some of the aspects of the regulation. So that gave you a good insight on what the regulation is. And those were the main sources. And then when you talk about the global aspect, IMDRF has guidances which you can look at in terms of just understanding the fundamentals of the regulation. And what I would also recommend is look at all the publicly available information from the FDA website to understand, what a 510(k) summary entails, for example, what different product classification codes are, what are the special controls. And I did go through the fundamentals book which RAPS has. So I used a lot of resources while preparing. And as for the time I took a good 6-7 months and to prepare before I appeared for the exam. But I was still new to the profession. I had experience, but I was not very experienced when I was appearing for the exam. So I was trying to compensate for the lack of experience through just learning through different sources and trying to develop my thought process. I think the main advice I would give is so everyone tries and prepares for it differently. So I think just evaluate what works best for you. So for example, I'm not much into study groups. I just prepared it myself individually. But I know there are a lot of study groups out there, and some people may like that approach. But I think first of all, understanding what approach makes sense to you, and the second thing is prepare in terms of to be very well aware of the regulations, or these are what the requirements are. And sometimes you may feel that, you don't have the level of work experience needed to take the exam. Even theoretically, you may have that, but that should never be like a deterrent to taking the exam. So I think if you prepare and develop your logical reasoning and critical thinking skills over a period of time, you will do fine in the exam.